Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next installment of our weekly six scale news recap, where we take a look at everything going on in the six scale world. And look, I'm gonna preface this by saying, because I've noticed, well, I haven't gotten many comments on that, but just so you know, I'm covering things that I find interesting or that I find really exciting. So I know some of the stuff I cover, third party or damn toys or the like. The idea isn't for everyone, but I feel like I would be doing a disservice to certain things to cover them. Like, for example, I'll casually comment on a trooper getting released. Not to say that there's anything wrong with troopers from Star Wars, but if I'm not going to discuss it with with like passion, or if I'm not that excited about it, why cover it? So just so you get a sense of how kind of I pick the topics. Doesn't mean that if there's a topic you guys, think I missed, flag it in the comments, or if there's something that I missed as far as releases, because it might be just something that I missed. After all, there's a ton of stuff going on in the six scale world. Now, I did owe you guys a video on the Comic-Con announcements for Marvel. As a big Marvel fan, I've been super hyped about where they're going. The only reason I actually chose to hold off on it is, one, things got busy in life. That's the story of my life. What can I say? And two, D23 is currently going right now, so I've got kind of a ticker showing what they're announcing. So by the time I do that video, I'll kind of lump everything in to see what other goodies we get, because the first hour has been insane, right? They announced Incredibles 3, which nobody expected. So there's been a ton of really good news coming out at this point. So that video will follow next week at this point, just covering both D23 and Comic-Con, and focused very much on Marvel. So, but that's not to say this week doesn't have some really, really good announcements. And look, as the thumbnail for the video says, and as I kind of teased on my feed, I did do something that I had not expected to do. So we'll get into that at the end of the video. But there were a couple of announcements, not as Hot Toys heavy, but Hot Toys still playing a little role here. Some of these I actually haven't really had a chance to go through. Like, for example, the first thing we're going to look at, and let me pull it up as we talk. But the first thing we're going to look at is their D23 announcement, which was an Iron Man figure. Not surprising. And I do have to give credit to, I was on Fab's Figures stream, great stream, great conversation we had. And William Cote brought up what this figure is. So for D23 from Avengers Campus, we are getting the Iron Man Mark 80. So look, when I saw these pictures announced, the first thing was, here we are. Even I'll say it, even as a Marvel fan, I'm like, here we are, another Iron Man suit. Do I really need it? There's so much coming out. I still have the Mark 6 on its way. Whenever Hot Toys or whenever Sideshow decides to ship it, right, with the gantry. We've got the Tony Stark in the suit up version. I'm still trying to pick up the Mark is it the Mark 4? The Mark 5 suit up version. I'm just waiting to get it on the deal. So, and obviously the Mark 42 2.0 just came out. So Hot Toys is still getting us a barrage of Iron Man suits, right? It's a moneymaker for them. So, all right. So this one I originally kind of pushed aside, and then we got into the story of it, which is this kind of an original suit for the Marvel theme park. So this is where things get interesting. And I already saw some pictures from D23 that I'm going to cover in the other video, but apparently this relates to a new ride that's coming out where the heroes have to take on King Thanos. So there have been some great pictures of that. Could we get a King Thanos figure from Avengers Campus in the future? I would. Why not, right? Hot Toys has the molds for Thanos, so it's an interesting looking piece overall. But look, you're seeing a lot of reuse of parts, right? You've got that same sword. He has the claws. He does have these nice mesh pieces on the panel that I'm seeing here for the first time. The mask looks pretty cool. It looks very similar to the suits we've gotten before, right? But it's also an Iron Man suit. So Hot Toys does a great job with these. There's no reason to deny or doubt that you're going to get something pretty amazing with this. I do also think it's interesting that he holds the sword in a slightly different way. I pose wise, it's a way of differentiating, right? These claw things look cool. I didn't have any intentions of using it. These things look actually pretty here with the perforated panels on the shoulders as well as the torso. So there are some subtle changes. I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's a different armor because it looks very similar to some of the recent ones we've gotten as well, some of the latter ones, but it does have some nice details, and it's an Iron Man suit. So yeah, and look, Hot Toys always likes to highlight what they've upgraded, which is pretty much, again, those elements, right? So it's nice. Now, the exclusive accessories are the shawarma and this blueprint map. So this, we get this with a lot of figures, right? InArt does this now with their figures. We're getting it with some Hot Toys figures as well. The really interesting thing here is the shawarma, and then you do get this tactical robot, which I'm hoping they actually don't show it, but it's a little robot that apparently features in the theme park. So look, it looks pretty cool. And again, while even at first I thought, this is an easy pass because it's not a movie suit, it's one of those movie adjacent suits, which might lend itself more towards me getting it. Now I think it's not up for sale yet, but I think in Disney's site for about $400. And I have to give credit to the Hot Toys Nightmare, who kind of sent the link for that. So is it active now? I don't think it is. I don't know if that's the only way we're going to be able to get this. And I haven't seen anybody, right? I've seen some things online where people have picked it up. So I'm very interested in getting it. The shawarma, right? You don't see this. You don't see any of the pictures of this suit holding the shawarma. So it's just an interesting additional element there. But it's tempting, right? And as a D23 exclusive, look, there is that exclusivity thing that a lot of us like. It's different enough that I wonder if it would fit in. And because it's kind of this Marvel, and it's MCU based and MCU adjacent, while I usually tell you I'm not going to go for those exclusive suits like the Iron Man black and gold, which looks gorgeous, and I kind of regret not getting. But that's the line I set for myself. This is something that's a little bit more, I can kind of blur the lines a little bit and maybe see myself getting it, but it depends on the availability, which at this point, I don't know if Sideshow is carrying it. It looks like it's up on Disney's site for order at about 400 die-cast. I think it is button cell batteries though. I don't think this is a USB powered one. But it's interesting. Look, it's another Iron Man suit. Just like I just told you earlier that I know troopers are not the most exciting thing for me. I know Iron Man suits, people are sick and tired of them to a degree. So I'm excited about this. If you're not, totally understandable. Hot Toys, when it comes to Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Stormtroopers or Clone Troopers, they've kind of inundated the market, right? So it's just interesting, and it's a nice exclusive to get. And when you think exclusive, this is something that you think about, right? Something that maybe isn't required. It's not a character that you need or that's missing. Had they done Namor, I would have been up in arms because that's something that's more of a main character. So this is a suitable armor. Whether I get it or not just depends with everything else that's going on, right? So very, very interesting. And then, of course, sticking with Marvel, because it is Summer of Marvel, right? At least according to Hot Toys, we're going to go with two things. First, Hot Toys surprised us with this, which is they redesigned the head sculpt for Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and they changed the dimensions on Cosmo. So let's start with the updated head sculpt. I think this is a great thing that Hot Toys did, because I think I've had every Rocket at this point, from both Guardian movies, from Infinity War, Endgame, right? From now I'm going to get him from Guardians Volume 3. And they've reused the same head sculpt a couple of times, right? So it's nice to get a little smirking sculpt, something different that's going to set him apart. So I appreciate that Hot Toys did that. And then, of course, getting an updated adjusted scale for Cosmo, that's great. So I like this figure. Again, the only regret I have when it comes to this, and now let's go, it did drop. So let's go into the blogger picks. But the only regret I have, and I don't think Hot Toys is going to complete this, to be honest, is the Drax in the team suit, and then the Mantis in the team suit. So Mantis dropped right from the holiday special. Drax, they've teased multiple Draxes before. We got a Drax tease from Guardians Volume 2. We got him teased now from Guardians Volume 3 in the team suit, which would have been great to have him share that look. But nothing, no movement, right? So part of me just really regrets that, especially when you see how great Groot looks, Star-Lord looked great, Nebula is coming up in the team suit, and they tease the entire group together. So that was kind of the appeal of getting the team, right? So I'm glad we have the team, the full team from volume 1, because I think it's pretty impressive. And I like the updates again they did to Rocket. There was no way I was going to miss on Rocket. He's the linchpin of Guardians Volume 3, right? At this point, we can talk spoilers. He's the heart of that movie. So he was definitely coming home. I love that we're getting Cosmo as an added, right? I think anytime you get one of these, if you know my like of the Damn Toys Gangsters Kingdom line, getting the animals is key. And Cosmo was great in the movie too. So very excited. I think, again, the updates that Hot Toys made, this is why we like Hot Toys. They don't always do this, but sometimes they do. And sometimes they definitely improve things. So credit to them. I can't wait to get this one in hand. I just hope that somewhere down the line, Hot Toys surprises us and actually finishes and gives us that Drax and maybe that Mantis, right? I'm not asking for much else. And even third party, right? I would have loved to have gotten the villain, and I'm blanking on his name, right? I was gonna say the Grand Inquisitor, but that was from Star Wars. But the scientist that created Rocket, I would have loved to have had him in a figure form, and I would have loved for a third party company to do him. They did Adam Warlock. Doesn't mean that they won't, right? We saw, for example, the Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. We're getting a release now from Thunder Toys years later. So it doesn't mean that you can't get it, but I would have loved to have that. But the key, I think, on that Guardians Volume 3 line is Hot Toys, please just complete that, right? Or I hope they do. The figures look great. I'm going to be happy to get them and add them to the collection, but I am going to regret that they didn't do a Drax, especially again in that team suit. Maybe there's some issues with Dave Bautista. I know there were tons of issues getting that first one, and when we got them, I'm happy that I was able to add him into the collection, but there are definitely issues there. But Hot Toys delivering an announcement that we still haven't gotten up for pre-order and a release, so that's definitely coming home. But they weren't the only ones in the game. So going into my love of third party, we do have to talk about Supergirl from So-So Toys. So-So is going way deep into this CW line. I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted when I saw these pictures because it is a Supergirl, and I have the Supergirl on order from The Flash because I thought she was great and she looked great in the movie. So I think she's going to go great next to the Henry Cavill soups that I have in the set, as well as the Batflex. But this one seems a little bit more traditional, right, with the suit. I don't think this head sculpt is there. If they're trying to make this look like, I think her name is Melissa Benoit, from the CW Flash, I don't think this looks like her at all. Now, if they're trying to do their own interpretation of a Supergirl, changes things up, right? But the suit is pretty much from that show, if memory serves. So, look, as a standalone Supergirl, excuse me, as a standalone Supergirl, not a bad figure overall. And So-So, I think they continue to be at the top of the third-party market, really. So I think you're going to get something pretty decent here. With everything coming out, this is a maybe. This is something that I'd have to consider. Very simple figure, right? It's literally the suit, the sculpted hair, which I think looks great, a couple swappable hands, and the display stand. So she's probably up on order, like on KG Hobby or TNS at this point. But interested in maybe getting her for that DC collection, but not a critical character. And then again, right, she's coming from that CW market, which I did watch some of those shows early on, right? Arrow and The Flash. And then those shows just kept going and going and going. And the stories just kept getting so convoluted and so crazy that you kind of lose interest. So I know I do want to revisit the Superman show they have. It's not Lewis and Clark. But they do have that new Superman show that people seem to rave about that I'd like to check out. And I think this version of Supergirl shows up there. So anyway, I haven't really delved into the properties these are based off of that much, but it's an interesting release. I'm glad to see So continuing on with these. I would like to see them focus more on maybe some of the movie characters. We've seen them do that, right? We've seen them put up the Blades, for example, the Blade from Blade Trinity, the Deathstroke from BVS, or from the Justice League. So we do know that So has dabbled in those cinematic universes. So I'd like to see them continue there, especially because there is a gap currently being left, right? Obviously, if you're a fan of the Snyderverse, that's done and over with, right? So could So fill in some of those gaps for figures that we're missing? Maybe. And then even for Marvel and for the MCU, right, there's still figures that they didn't do. And we know that So has dabbled in that as well with the likes of Loki, right? Classic Loki from Loki season 2. So we're currently missing a Miss Marvel. Nobody made Captain Proton, or I'm totally blanking again. Figures from the Marvels. Not that I expect the Captain Marvel. She's not a very popular character, but there were adjacent characters that they could make. There's just a ton, right? Not to knock what they're doing. I think it's great that So continues to do these figures nobody expects. So I'd like to see them continue that, just with more cinematic characters. But yeah, they're still alive and kicking. Although they seem to have abandoned a lot of those plans, like from the Watchmen line. You know, it looks like, are they done with that at this point? It looks like they're not continuing on with it, which is unfortunate, because I think they had done a lot of good stuff there, or they had a lot of good things that they were potentially showcasing. But look, we're not done, because third party still had a couple of surprises for us this week, and this is one that was a little surprising. So Spider-Girl from Elephant Toys. I've never gotten anything from Elephant Toys, right? In the third party world, there are so many companies out there, and they change their names, right? They do all these wacky things. We know Toys R Us has multiple brands, so is this an offshoot of Toys R Us? And who knows, right? But it's a third-party company. Obviously, Spider-Gwen, but it's not exactly a Spider-Gwen, right? You've got the webbing, and then you've got her with this tactical look with a couple of, I forget what the HK designation for these are, but a couple of HK, semi-automatics, and it's like, wow, it's like somebody's dream version of it, right? With a tactical vest, with the rifles. It's Gwen, clearly, right, from Into the Spider-Verse, and those animated with the eye piercing, the eyebrow piercing. It looks like her. It's clearly got the webbing, but instead of being a form-fitting suit, which we saw in those shows, which is fine, it's more of a jacket look with a mask. I don't know what, and it lights up. I don't know if it's USB powered though, but it's an interesting release overall. I didn't know what to make of this, because it looks like some kind of a tactical, operative version of her with a jacket with kind of repelling kits. So she's not necessarily a powered spider person, but it's interesting. Look, she's got the ammo packs. The ammo clips have a spider logo on it. I don't know who thought of this. This is somebody's weird concept of it. And I don't want to say what's sad, but for me, it's really intriguing. And it's something that almost bridges, like, wow, I could start connecting my military collection to Marvel and the MCU with a character like this. Not that I'm going to do it, but it's just an intriguing release overall. And for me, I don't know. Like, I want to get her, right? I think she looks cool. She looks great. Obviously, this is more of the doll hair. We're not talking about the artisan or the in-art style rooting or the J&D style, right? This is more of that old school original Hot Toys rooting that we got. But again, if you just want to use the masked version, it's a visually interesting figure that makes use of the template of that Spider-Gwen. it's just I don't know where she would fit in. So this is one of these that when I saw the pictures, I really liked the figure, but the question is just where do I put this, right? Because it's not a military figure, even though it fits in with the kit, and it's also not really a Marvel figure because this isn't Spider-Gwen from Marvel. Now, with the multiverse, could it be a multiversal Spider-Gwen? Maybe that's how you could convince yourself. But my collection is very cinematic focused, so this is kind of a one-off piece. So this is the one that again falls into the maybe category a little bit because as cool as she is, I just don't know if she would fit in. But it's one I'm keeping my eye on because it's definitely an interesting getup. I like the light up feature on the eyes, and obviously the dual wielding HKs with the spider logo. It's an interesting concept of this character, right? And let's not doubt it, right? This is who it's supposed to be. So this was a little bit surprising and just a fun overall release. So I'm still considering it, as a third party person that I'll pick up almost everything or anything I like. I just don't know if she would quite fit in, but pretty cool nevertheless. And to wrap up at least the first round of releases that we're just going to quickly talk about before we get into the heart of the conversation, not to leave my military stuff behind. Let's see, here we go. Now, I don't own figures from this company, but there's somebody channel, and a shout out to him, to Tony Marine, and you can check out his channel too. He's got some great videos of figures that not many people post about, but he's collected some of these, and the videos he's posted look really good. Now, I do like World War II figures, especially US troops. This looks pretty cool. So it's the 2nd Armored Division from deployment in Germany in 1945. Look, the kit looks great, right? I like the sniper rifle. I like the helmet. I like that he comes with the alternate jacket as well. I don't know who it's supposed to be. Sometimes these figures, especially again, if you look at DID Corps, for example, they're starting to get into the cinematic military figures. But it's a nice figure overall. Look, normally I jump on these and add them, but with the flurry of activity we've had recently from Hot Toys, from InArt, from J&D, which we're going to get into, right? And DID Corps doing more cinematic based things, which is kind of the crux of my collection. Even as good of a figure as this looks like, right, with the kit, with the logos, something's got to give, right? And X06 is doing a bunch of great releases at this point. There's just a lot, right? Damn Toys, X06, Hot Toys, because even though sometimes I get the joke that I just collect third party, most of my collection is still Hot Toys, right? I think if you're a Marvel collector, it's going to be Hot Toys. So a figure like this, while it's very tempting, I have to start thinking more long term, right? And one of the things I've been talking about with friends in the community as well is we saw, and I'll get into this a little bit more in the video that we have for that I'm going to do for Marvel, but Marvel came out of San Diego Comic-Con swinging, right? They came out with Robert Downey Jr.'s announcement, right? 2 new Avengers movies that we knew were coming, Secret Wars and Doomsday. Those 2 movies alone are going to have so many figures released from that, right? And then you've got Fantastic Four, which is at least 4 figures, because there's no way we're not going to get the entire family. There's just no way. Then you've got Thunderbolts, and if that's the hit that I think it's going to be, you're going to get the entire team. So that's what, like 5-6 characters right there, not including villains and whoever we don't know is going to show up. And then of course you still have Deadpool and Wolverine, and we're not done with that. I definitely don't think we're done with figures from that movie. It's about to cross the $1 billion club, into the $1 billion club. There's no way they're not going to make those figures. So with all that Marvel stuff coming, where do I make the cut? And unfortunately, I think it's going to be military. And also, I started dabbling back into Star Wars just because there's some great looking figures, right? There's no denying that battle damaged Darth Vader, that one I'm going to get, right? Darth Maul, a lot of these other characters. But as much as I like those, something's got to give. And I think that Star Wars collecting is going to definitely go down. It's not a tap out excuse. You might say it is. But for me, it's more just I'm going to put the budget that I have for the pieces that I really want. And again, if budget were no option, no object, and if space were no issue, because space is always an issue we as collectors have, I'd buy all of them. Those Star Wars figures look gorgeous, right? They're stunning. They're large pieces. Almost every figure, even the troopers, look great, right? So, but something's got to give, and I think unfortunately this is where I'm heading. If what I think is going to happen happens, and then of course there are those licenses that you don't expect that are coming, which I'm getting into, which brings us into the main topic of conversation tonight, which is Harry Potter. Right. I've gone on about this on multiple videos because it was kind of the unexpected war in the 6 scale market, which is, InArt had kind of come out of nowhere and done Harry Potter figures, and I thought, good, right? Star Ace had the license and they weren't doing anything with it, and frankly the figures I wasn't crazy about, so there was no competition for that market. So I ordered the InArt Harry Potter, the Ron Weasley, and the Hermione, right? So I got the deluxe versions of those all ordered. And then J&D came out saying that they were also going to tackle the license. And frankly, I've been extremely critical of Kojin Works and J&D, especially at the price point they were coming in at, because it was ridiculous for you what you were getting. And I think they kind of missed a little bit with the original Joker, especially the accessories. For the cost, the lack of accessories you were getting, everything is really down to the rooting and the silicone head and the magnetic eye system they have, right? That's where they're basically charging you all this money. So sure, I was interested in it. And when they said they were going to do Harry Potter figures, I thought, all right, let's see what they have to do. And there was always something that interested me, which is they said they were also going to do a limited Quidditch version, which InArt, I think InArt's going to do it. Just because they're calling their Harry Potter figure, I think it's the student version. So that tells me that they're probably planning on doing something else. Will I get that one? Sure. Right. It's a license I like, and my kids are liking it, so it makes sense for me to get into that. And I want to get into that, right? Nobody's forcing my hand. So with J&D and kind of their issues with their initial launches that I had with them, I just thought, curious, let me see. And then they dropped this Kojin Light thing, right? And over the course of the weekend, we're not even going to get into that because we went into the Ron last time, and that's going to be a cheaper version of the figures that they have. That's more to the standard of the market, or at least what they think the standard is. So Kojin Light figures, 300 and change for each one. I thought the head sculpts weren't that great. Especially the Ron looked older, much older than it looked like an old man in a kid body, right? Which is not what the figure should have been. But of course, then they announced their full line. So let's take a look at the first. Let's take a look at their. Hold on, because obviously we're going to look at the Quidditch version, but let's take a look at this one. So this is their full Kojin Works line. So the first thing that strikes you is you're getting all 3 figures together. They're not splitting this up. The package is going to include all 3. So whereas Kojin Light is letting you purchase each one individually, if you want to get the full-in version with the rooted hair and the silicone head sculpt, you've got to get all 3, and that's it. The other interesting thing, though, with the Light is that's it, right? All the accessories are identical. And the only added thing they're doing here is they're giving you that extra base in the back so you can display all 3 figures together on a single base. And the cost for this is $1,600. So, look, you are getting 3 figures, so maybe there's some value in that. But I just think, here's the first thing. I think for what you're getting and the price, I would have expected that, contrary to Kojin Light, you would have gotten some extra accessories here, right? For example, InArt gave you their sculpted version for a more reasonable price, and if you went to the deluxe, not only did you get the rooted hair, right, you also got that great diorama base, and I think even Harry had some additional accessories. So there was an added benefit to go with the more expensive set there. Here, the benefit is literally that rooted hair and that more realistic sculpt. So that's the one thing I would have liked to have seen J&D Kojin Works do something a little bit different. Now the sculpt, I don't know. It looks okay. From some angles, I think it looks better. It's interesting. I'm curious to see how this turns out. I think the Hermione sculpt actually looks pretty good. So I don't really have any complaints about her. And then the Ron sculpt, this looks much better than the plastic one, right? It looks much more in line, I think, with the inart one. And then look, you're getting a stack of books with the owl Hedwig, like fully like in a flight pose. Pretty cool. It's a simple figure. There really isn't much to them, which kind of makes the sticker, the value of these a little shocking, right? And then here it is, right? If you get this set, you can display the 3 figures together. All right, kind of cool, I guess. Look, I'm not gonna knock it, but here by comparison, right? Let's show you what the inart one comes with, because I think it's worth discussing that, at least with this set right now. So let's start with the Harry. This is the Ron. Look, the deluxe version has Ron. It has this great backdrop with a table, right? It also includes the chess set. It includes the same books. It includes double robes, because there are 2 robes, right? There's a jacket, the scarf. You get the scabbards. You get the 2 chicken legs as well. And then you get all these things, which I know some people will complain because it's just paper products, right? You get all the wizard cards. You get some candy. You get a lot more hands, to be honest. And then you get the binoculars as well. So there's some added accessories that you're getting there that you're not getting with the J&D, right? And again, just taking another look at another one of the sets that Inart was giving us. Let's see. This is the Hermione. So look, Hermione comes with, again, this display that's going to really create a nice diorama piece. A basically bookcase where you can put a lot of these accessories. She comes with a bag that can store books. She comes with the quill. So very similar. She just comes with more books, which I think is kind of funny that the J&D version only comes with a single book for her. I'm sure you can mix and match accessories, but it almost feels like if any character in Harry Potter is going to have books, it's going to be Hermione, right? So look, again, just for your value, I think the Inart one is giving you a little bit more bang for your buck, right? So, but still, I think at the price point, I think it was still a pretty decent set from J&D. Definitely much more at the cost, right? At least for 3 figures, a little bit more palatable. But again, right, we're here to talk about. Sorry about that. Pressed the wrong button. But we're here to talk about what I did, which is there was always a figure that they had that was very tempting to me. And it was the one that they had kind of announced as the limited version, right? Which is this Quidditch one, which is what they're calling Type A. So a much more serious look. Again, I don't know that the likeness is fully there. Maybe from some views more than others. But the appeal here is you're getting a totally different look. And this is something that Inart didn't give us. Inart did give us the broom, right? And look, I did criticize Inart too for not giving us a flight stand for the broom, because they're showing in their promo pics, they show Harry on the broom. So here we'll get into this, but you're getting, first of all, a different look, which looks great, right? I think the tailoring is awesome. I know people have been complaining that the colors aren't the right, they're supposed to be a little bit more dark red or almost maroon. Fine, right? But you do also get the snitch. It's just a very interesting look. And again, look, fabric tailoring looks pretty decent to me. And this is probably what sold it, which is you can put them in a flight pose, carrying and playing the game. So I think, look, while I have the Inart pieces, this is a very complimentary figure to those. So I did what I never thought I'd do, and I actually ordered this. So he's up for pre-order right now. You can check the price. He's $5.99, which I know is ridiculous, but it's on par with the Inart figures as well for the. That's how I justified it to myself. You might say I'm a total nut, considering it comes with basically nothing. It's the figure, a broom, two hands, that's it, right? So definitely the InArt has a lot more to it. But for me, as a fan of the series, it was an opportunity to get a look that InArt's not doing. And I do like, I'm just noticing that they have the Nimbus 2000 logo imprinted on the broom. So it looks good. I never thought I was going to own a Kojin-Works product. So the other thing I wanted to discuss very quickly. So while we look at this, and look, we can argue, I don't know that the face is completely there, but here's what was interesting. So this went out for pre-order last night. So I was waiting, and I thought, just like some of their other figures, like the Joker, the Batman that they had go up, it wasn't available in the States. So of course, to my surprise, into my cart, clearly J&D has a US license for Harry Potter. So I was able to buy direct from them, which is great, because there's no middleman issue here. And that's one thing I do have to comment, because with InArt, I ordered mine through 16kit, right? 16kit, highly dependable, probably one of the, if not the best retailer that I've worked with. Dealt with, because I don't really work with anybody, but that I've dealt with, right? He's solved all my issues, so I've had really good experiences with him overall. So that's why buying those InArt figures from him, I'm pretty comfortable. But it's nice to be able to buy directly from the company, and then if something happens, have a recourse, go directly to them to try to fix it, especially for a figure that's pretty expensive. So I like that. And then it begs the question again from InArt is, InArt doesn't have the US based license. So I don't know if this was a case where it's just curious to me, because obviously Kojin-Works has it. They don't have an international license, but they are selling to the US market. So it's like, why wasn't InArt able to do that? And to me, it just raises a little interesting question, which is, right, we're seeing some cracks in the InArt armor. Not to say that their figures don't look great, right? Because I think they do. And I'm excited to get those Harry Potter figures in order, and they've got more that they're teasing, right? Because they're teasing, InArt is teasing Dumbledore. We saw that in a preview. They're teasing that they're doing Snape. They might do Hagrid as well, which is funny because Kojin-Works is also doing those figures, or they claim that they are. So we'll see if they get to them. And then during an interview that InArt did in China, they did mention looking at doing some of the older versions of the characters, so sort of the teenage versions of the kids. So that would be cool to get something there, because how can you do Harry Potter and not get us to that level where we can get Voldemort? I'm sorry, right? You're going to do these kids, you're going to do Dumbledore, you're going to do all these others, and you're not going to give us the series main villain? I mean, I feel like that would be a missed opportunity. So it's great to see that InArt is kind of leaning heavily into those, and clearly so is Kojin-Works at this point. So there are going to be options. But again, what's striking is I'm seeing some kinks in InArt armor with the Joker issue that came out, with Hot Toys dropping a sculpted, $300 DX Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker, after InArt kept saying that it had to be 1,000 or more. And again, I'm not saying that InArt's lying, but clearly, and I think there was some conversation with John from InArt. Clearly, Hot Toys was able to negotiate a better deal. Whether that happened because enough time has gone by, or whether Hot Toys, because of their experience in the market, was just able to negotiate a better deal, they got us a figure that was much more affordable. All right, not that these are really affordable, but again, just much more something that we could palette from a cost perspective, as opposed to dropping $2,000 for, granted, 4 figures, but still, it's a big ticket item. Just like dropping, $1,600 for 3 little figures here. So you've got to really consider it. So when you get the option to just get one figure by itself, that's awesome, right? And now with the Harry Potter line, look, not to say there's anything bad with what InArt is doing, but the fact that InArt wasn't able to get a US license, right? And they were at Comic-Con at San Diego with a couple of their figures, right? The Walking Dead line, the Paul Atreides from Dune, and the Michael Jackson, which they have international licenses for. How cool would it have been for them to show up with the Harry Potter figures? So I'm just, again, it's more it's just interesting from a business perspective what InArt is able to do and not do. We're still going to get the figures, right? I'm still going to get them. But the fact that Kojin Works has the US license was pretty surprising to me. So I ordered direct from them, and they did already say that the next 3 figures they're releasing are Snape, Hagrid, and Draco Malfoy. And Draco Malfoy is a figure that InArt hasn't even teased. So I'm curious how they're going to deliver this one. I'll tell you right now, I would expect that InArt is going to do, that Kojin Works is going to do a Quidditch version of Draco Malfoy to go with this figure. It just makes sense that if they're following the same trend, we would do a Kojin Light version and then a special that's just the Malfoy version to go with this as a companion piece. So that's pretty awesome. And InArt hasn't even teased Malfoy. So I'm really going to keep an eye out for that. The only thing then is, now that I know these are coming out, is InArt going to jump in and showcase their Hagrid? Are we going to see a head battle there? And that's really where things get interesting, right? Because I never thought we'd see these Potter Wars. And again, I never thought I was going to buy a J&D product, but they made it at a price point where I was like, all right, I can stomach that. Not that I'm saying it's worth that much money, because I don't think it is, but I feel that it's a great companion piece to what I'm getting from InArt. But I didn't expect that this was going to be the big battle between the two companies, and it's definitely brewing. Look, InArt has established a lot of more good faith at this point, and I think Kojin Works definitely stumbled out of the block a little bit, even having to re-put up the Batman armory, which I still think was weird, that we're getting essentially a statue, a 6-scale statue of Batman as opposed to a figure. Right, in the 6-scale community, most of us want to collect figures. So I'm not saying that they're perfect or they're going to fix a lot of things, but it's something that I was curious about, and I'm curious how Kojin Works is going to pan out in the long run. So at the very least, I'm definitely going to get one figure from them. And then if this works out and Kojin Works continues to drop figures, there's definitely a possibility where I got a couple more. But I did what I didn't think I would do, and I got my first Kojin Works order in. So I'm looking forward to getting that. And again, I can see lots of possibilities with this line. Whether it goes to those possibilities and we see those executed, that's another question. So yeah, I did something bad. I spent probably way too much money on something, but very excited to get that one in hand. So look, that was pretty much still an eventful week. And again, I see my phone buzzing, which is why I keep looking down. So I know that we're getting a ton of announcements right now from D23. So I'll follow up with a video on those, focused primarily on Marvel. I know Avatar already dropped the title for their next movie, which is, I think, Ash and Fire, or Fire and Ash. So clearly we're going to visit Fire Tribe. Look, I've got Jake Sully on his way. I'd love to see some more characters from those movies, and I'm sure Hot Toys might give us another version of those. So there's a lot of figures that are coming up in our future, right? Up to 2025, 2026, and so on. So look, there's a lot to consider, but a lot of good stuff dropping, even when you don't just look at Hot Toys. So look, that was the 6-scale news for this week. We'll got a couple of reviews incoming, like the John Dunbar. I'm still wrapping that one up. Got a couple of Hot Toys figures, right? The Shuri Black Panther, the Thor Deluxe Thor from Thor Love and Thunder, Jake Sully shipped, Kang shipped as well, and I got Mike Wheeler too from Stranger Things from 3.0, and from DID Core I do have the horse shipping as well that goes with that John Dunbar. So it's going to be busy, and that's just a start, because there's a ton of actual figures that are supposed to ship from Sideshow soon. So we'll see if they actually make it. So look, thanks for watching and spending a little time with me. And then if you're enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.